What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from AnimeUproar, and today I'm going to be talking about the legend himself, Itachi Uchiha. Itachi has always been one of the most interesting characters to me, and since a lot of you requested a detailed video about Itachi, here we are. This one is focusing on his powers and abilities from birth up to the point where he left Konoha after killing his clan. But I'd also like to make one about his power afterwards, a video about adult Itachi if you will. So, if that's something you'd like to see, make sure to smash that like button. Let's see if we can hit 5,000 likes on this one. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, hit that notification bell or you will miss future Naruto videos, and leave suggestions in the comments for what video topics you would like me to cover next. As usual, spoilers are fair game. Now without further ado, let's jump into it. Itachi has been called Itachi of the Sharingan and Clan Killer Itachi. He is the older brother of Sasuke and the son of Fugaku Uchiha, who was the head of the Uchiha clan and the leader of the Konoha military police force. We know in Naruto that OP parents tend to have OP children, and Fugaku was notably considered to be a rare genius. Fugaku earned the nickname Wicked Eye Fugaku, and his reputation struck fear into the hearts of enemy ninja. He was compared to Minato Namikaze and the Legendary Three, and some strongly felt like he should have been the fourth Hokage. This is all extremely impressive, and what's even more impressive is that Itachi was clearly even more talented than his fearsome father, even as a child. In the Itachi novels, Fugaku's ninja pride is often threatened by his firstborn son's exceptional talents. Itachi grew up quick. At only 4, his father showed him the horrors of war up close. Itachi was sickened by what he saw, and he promised himself that he would change the world. Thus, at only 4 years old, he embarked on the path to become the strongest so that he could bring peace to the world. Although Fugaku shouldn't get any Father of the Year awards, he did give Itachi a sense of urgency which accelerated his growth as a ninja. Shisui Uchiha, who was considered to be the strongest Uchiha of his time, complimented Itachi on his mastery of Shuriken Jutsu, aka the art of throwing shuriken, kunai, and other projectiles, when Itachi was only 5 years old. Also when he was 5, during the Nine Tails attack, there was an incident with an enormous rock that was large enough to easily crush a mother and her 2 children. The rock was coming. Itachi threw baby Sasuke to his mother, leaped up, channeled chakra into his arm so it was covered in faint blue flames, and punched the rock. The rock exploded, and in this way, a 5-year-old Itachi saved his mother and brother. His mother, Mikoto Uchiha, was a Jonin. She must have seen a lot over the course of her life, yet she still couldn't help but be surprised at the young Itachi's skills and instincts. Thus, by 5 years old, Itachi had already shown himself to be an awe-inspiring prodigy. At 6 years old, Itachi started the Ninja Academy. In general, by the beginning of Naruto, it seems that most students enter the academy at around 8 years old and then spend 4 years there and graduate at 12 years old. The rookie 9 are 12 when they graduate. Even Naruto, who supposedly failed the exam twice before he took it a 3rd time, is 12. Perhaps Naruto also started early like Itachi, while the others started at 8, which could explain the confusion. Anyways, Itachi excelled at the academy. There was a test where the students had to hit 20 human figures set up all over the schoolyard with kunai as fast as possible. The rest of the class's average was around 5 minutes, and Itachi did it in 30 seconds, hitting every target with almost flawless accuracy in the head or the chest. He scored a perfect 100 on the test, but Itachi actually beat himself up about it. He compared himself to the older Shisui, who could have done it faster, and finally decided that he could have shaved another 5 seconds off. This is Itachi for you. At 6 years old, he was not comparing himself to the students around him, but to the best Uchiha of the time. Even a perfect score could be a failure in Itachi's eyes. That's how hard he was on himself even at 6 years old. Itachi was so skilled that Shisui trained with him. They'd run about 4 hours, maintaining their top speed the entire time. In contrast, we're told anyone not diligent with their ninja training wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes, let alone 4 hours. Shisui was known as Shisui of the Body Flicker because of his insane speed, so the fact that Itachi could train and keep up with him as a kid is beyond impressive. 6 months after starting the academy, some teachers and students said that Itachi's level of talent had never before been seen at the school. The academy has been around since the 2nd Hokage founded it, so skilled ninja like Kakashi, the Legendary 3, Minato, and more have all gone through it. And some still thought that Itachi had the most talent. We're even talking about people who would eventually become great Hokage, so let that sink in. Just after 4 months at the academy, his teachers agreed to let him graduate after his first year. I will say though that the Hidden Leaf Village was exhausted from the Great War and the attack of the Nine Tails, so they urgently needed ninja. Thus, select students were allowed to graduate without waiting for their full term to be up. Prodigies like Sasuke and Neji would have likely graduated early too, if they went through the system during this period. Itachi passes the graduation exam with no problem. In contrast to Naruto, who failed the graduation exam 3 times, Itachi had already mastered clone techniques before he even entered the academy. So at only 7 years old, aka 5 years before the average student, he passed effortlessly. Another notable example that perfectly illustrates how Itachi was always a cut above the rest can be found in the uniqueness of his substitution technique. Most of the time, ninjas switched out their own body for a log before an attack, but Itachi used countless crows instead of a log. I always used to think that this was just Itachi's own unique style, but it actually always served a specific purpose, as is explained in the novel, and I quote, "If you used the usual log, the confusion effect on your opponent was meager, but the instant you switched out for crows, they flew off in all directions, so your opponent was surprised and bewildered, generating an opening that wasn't even on the same level as with the log," end quote. So even little things like his substitution technique were planned out meticulously by Kid Itachi for maximum effectiveness. Danzo showed a huge interest in Itachi because of his talent, and according to him, and I quote, "All involved assert that the academy has never before witnessed such a genius as Itachi," end quote. That's the second time we've seen such a statement, and in this case, Danzo says, "all involved" rather than some teachers, further lending credence to the claim that Itachi showed the most talent of all. At his graduation, a 7-year-old Itachi Uchiha was valedictorian. Although some people thought he was way too young and others didn't want an Uchiha to be valedictorian, in the end they all bowed before his overwhelming abilities and grades and the way he excelled in all things. He had gotten nothing but perfect scores while in the academy and completed the graduation exam flawlessly only 4 months after entering. He was the youngest post-war graduate and valedictorian, and that post-war part is important because other exceptional graduates like Kakashi graduated during the Great War, when there was an even more urgent need of ninja. Thus for Itachi, it would not have been possible for him to graduate at 5 years old from the academy like Kakashi did. And after his graduation, Danzo called him the most talented genius ever to grace the halls of the academy. So not only can we not place anyone above him, there is accumulating evidence to indicate that Kid Itachi had the most talent out of everyone before him at the academy. At only 7 years old, Itachi's practical abilities were already said to be on par with the average Chunin. He fully awakened the Sharingan at 8 years old and learned how to use it. Then at 10 years old, he officially got promoted to Chunin. He took the exam by himself and crushed it, even with an unfair disadvantage. For instance, for the second part of the Chunin exams, Itachi completed it so fast that he set a new record, despite the fact that the exam was based on 3-person cells and he was working alone. In contrast, 10-year-old Sasuke would still be in the academy for 2 years and would not become a Chunin on his first try. Albeit there were weird circumstances that interrupted the Chunin exams, but Shikamaru still got promoted, so it was possible. Although Sasuke would eventually surpass Itachi, Kid Itachi was clearly more skilled and advanced than Kid Sasuke. And that's saying a lot, since Sasuke was a prodigy and would go on to become one of the 2 strongest shinobi along with Naruto. But back to Itachi. Kid Itachi would seriously spar with Shisui for hours. As I said, Shisui was considered to be the strongest Uchiha of his time, and a Kid Itachi could spar with him for hours. In one instance, not only did he last 3 hours, he even got a good amount of wins. Out of 15 rounds, Itachi managed to win 6 compared to Shisui, who won 9. They weren't allowed to use the Sharingan because that would waste chakra, and they wanted to fight for as long as possible. But that's crazy that Kid Itachi was able to do that well and sometimes win against the famous Shisui of the body flicker. At 11, Itachi entered the Anbu. Danzo was pushing to make an 11-year-old Itachi Anbu commander, but usually an Anbu captain had to be at least 13 years old. As a result of a compromise between Danzo and the 3rd Hokage, Itachi was promoted to Anbu captain at 12, but his publicly disclosed promotion age was 13. Itachi was around 13 years old when he, with Obito's help, wiped out his entire clan except for Sasuke. He had his Mangekyo Sharingan at this point, which he awakened after his best friend Shisui's death about a year earlier. In fact, according to the novel, Itachi might have still been 12 since Obito tells Itachi it's been 4 years since their first meeting when he killed his teammate Tenma. It was after this that Itachi awakened his Sharingan, and he was 8 years old at the time. So 4 plus 8 is 12 years old if we take his words super literally, but he would have been close to 13 nonetheless, while his publicly disclosed age would have been around 14. As I mentioned, while the roughly 13-year-old Itachi killed his clan, he had access to his unique Mangekyo Sharingan powers. He could use Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu. Tsukuyomi is a genjutsu that allowed Itachi to create an illusion for someone where Itachi completely controlled time, space, and matter. It's said in the novel that the time that passed within this genjutsu was 1/100th of 1/1000th of 1/1,000,000th of that of the real world. In other words, a moment in the real world could be experienced as a lifetime for a person under the genjutsu. Even though it can be used for torture, Itachi could use it to create a kind of paradise too, so that people pass away happily and tranquilly. For instance, he used it on Izumi, a girl that loved him, and made her experience an entire lifetime with Itachi, where they married, had children, grew old together, and so on. In Izumi's case, she was smiling when she took her last peaceful breath. Killing her in this way also shows how much Itachi cared about her. This was an important mission where he needed all the strength and speed he could muster. The efficient thing to do would have been to kill Izumi quickly with a blade, but instead Itachi chose to use Tsukuyomi, which takes a huge toll on him. When he finished, his body was shaking because of the amount of chakra he used up, but he wanted to make sure that Izumi lived out her fantasies. For a guy who, on missions, is usually as cold and calculating as a ninja can get, this act shows that Itachi did have strong feelings for Izumi and might well have married her if the circumstances allowed it. Against an Uchiha that he didn't like at all, called Yashiro, Itachi used Tsukuyomi to create a world where infinite Itachis continued to stab the man with ninja swords. It was not even a few seconds in the real world, but Yashiro experienced several days of continuous stabbings. When Itachi stopped the genjutsu, Yashiro's mind was destroyed, and then Itachi proceeded to chop off his head. As you can see, Itachi, despite seemingly hating violence, could be quite cruel when angered. We also read about Itachi getting revenge on Sugaru, aka Yoji Aburame, who is the one to blame for Shisui's death. Sugaru had used insects to poison Shisui, so that he would have died no matter what. Itachi deals with him and his insects using Amaterasu. The technique produces black flames that will not go out until whatever Itachi is looking at has completely burned. He doesn't even let one insect nesting in Sugaru's body escape. Amaterasu has been referred to as the highest level of fire release. Even though it becomes pretty useless in later Naruto, at this point Amaterasu was one of the best techniques in the Naruto world, along with Tsukuyomi. And since Itachi has awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes at this point, he at least has the potential to access the power of Susanoo too, with its incredible defensive and offensive capabilities, even though he doesn't actually use it in the novels. It makes sense though that Itachi doesn't use it in the novels because he doesn't have a need for it. He has no problems strength-wise in taking out countless members of his clan. When it came to that, it was more so an emotional challenge than a physical one. And that's where we'll stop in the story for the purposes of this video, up to about where Itachi is 13 years old. So we'll consider that kid Itachi, and if you want to see a video about adult Itachi's true strength, let me know in the comments below and by turning that like button blue. In that video, I'll pick up where I left off here. But yeah, I hope you have a better sense of Kid Itachi's insane power and potential. As we know, he does develop an illness, but ignoring that, his childhood could easily lead one to believe that his dream of becoming the strongest ninja in the world was possible. He broke record after record. He not only completed the Chunin exams by himself, but also finished the Forest of Death portion, which is based on a 3-man cell, in record time. He was said multiple times in the novels to be the most talented ninja to ever bless the halls of the academy. And yes, some talented dudes didn't go to the academy, like the first and second Hokage for instance, because it wasn't formed yet, but still, Minato Kakashi and the Sannin went, and people still called Itachi the most talented. He trained and even won sparring matches against Shisui, referred to as the strongest Uchiha of his age, when he was still a young kid. He dreamt of being the first Uchiha Hokage, and he easily reached Hokage level. Not only would he be clearly shown to surpass Kakashi and Orochimaru in the future, both of who were considered strong enough to be Hokage, he even surpassed his father Fugaku in the novels. And as I mentioned, many Uchiha felt that Fugaku could have been and should have been the fourth Hokage. Itachi even attains the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan at around 12 years old, giving him access to OP jutsu like Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and potentially Susanoo. Skill-wise, the sky was the limit for Kid Itachi. It's unfortunate that he got ill, but without Tailed Beast powers, Sage of Six Path powers, or reincarnation of someone famous powers, Itachi did just about as well as you can expect someone to do. In fact, one might even argue that he surpassed all expectations for how strong he could have reasonably hoped to be. And that is it for this video. Thank you to everyone who suggested an Itachi dedicated video, and if you did enjoy this one, make sure to smash that like button to let me know and to unlock the video for adult Itachi. Let's aim for getting over 5,000 likes on this one. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial. Hit that notification bell or you will miss future Naruto videos. As you wait for the next Naruto video to drop, feel free to check out my growing Naruto playlist, which includes videos about the Hokage, Uchiha clan, Uzumaki clan, and more. A very special thank you goes out to our patrons over on Patreon who help make videos like this one possible. First and foremost, I want to thank the 1-tier patrons, the ones who stand atop all clans: Steven Ingrata, Alola Anatem, The World, Steelers, Acquire Respect, Pate Hefa, Jonathan King, Brandon Aviles, Papa Smurf, The School Bus, King Riser, Emperor Otaku, Ricardo Martinez, Thomas Jones, Kin Mono, Michael Hyde, and Jaden the Vector Controller. And our Pro Hero tier patrons, the one and only Gilgamesh, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, King Zeldris, Anatoly Kazatsky, Angel Cruz, Cricket XP, Joe Stanton, Barry Gucci, Alicia Actor, Jessica Kayla Fond, Hinokami and Water, Bonnie Park, Zodiar 12, Rathuan De Aura, Kraken, Arels, Deadly Saint, and Stern Hawkins. Thank you all so much. If you enjoy our work, you can support more by going over to patreon.com/AnimeUproar and becoming a patron today for as little as $1. If you do so, you'll get your name featured in future videos alongside these amazing people right here, and you'll even get access to our private patron-only Discord, where we talk about anime life and of course, dank memes. So check out patreon.com/AnimeUproar, link in the description if you're interested. You can also now join the YouTube channel and support more content that way if you prefer. Whichever way you choose to support us, you can get the same great benefits. Thanks again, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.